All right, guys, so today's lesson is going to be exactly like it was yesterday, where we are going to multiply unit fractions by non-unit fractions. But the one thing you're going to kind of notice is yesterday all of my numerators were 1. But today you're going to kind of notice that some of your numerators are going to be different numbers. And so I don't want you guys to worry about it. Once we actually do our multiplication only, then you will kind of see how it makes sense. But using our rectangular model is just to understand our thinking. So the first one has already been done for you, where it says 1/2 of 2/5. So remember, that means that I'm multiplying, okay? And so what they did was they want to put this in word form. And so it's 1/2 of, well, how many fifths did I have? Well, I have 2/5. It equals what equals 1/5. And so we'll kind of look when we multiply this out. This is a little bit deceiving just because you do have to simplify when you get to the final answer. So they drew the picture and they had a half, and then they put each of those halves into fifths. And so I wanted to know half, which is right here, but I wanted to know 2/5 of them. So it is 2/10, but we do have to simplify to 1/5 because I could divide both of these numbers, oops, not by 5, but by 2. Okay, so down here on letter A, it says 1/3 of 3/4. So 1/3 of, well, how many fourths do I have? I have 3. And so what I'm going to actually do is I'm going to draw my model first before I figure out what that answer is going to be. So when I draw my model, it says that I need to make thirds. So here's 1/3, 2/3, and 3/3. So I'm really looking just right here. And it says I want to split them into 3/4. Well, I want to split them into fourths, but I only want to look at 3 of those fourths. So when I look at this, I actually have 3/12. Okay? So if you're like, well, wait a second, guys, or Mrs. Spillman or Mrs. Barlow, this says fourths. The thing is that I can definitely simplify it. So I can do divided by 3. And when I do this, 3 divided by 3 is 1. 12 divided by 3 is 4, so it actually equals 1/4, okay? Now, when I multiply it, like here, they multiplied it for us. We did 1/3 times 3/4. And remember, when we multiply, all we do is we just multiply straight across. 1 times 3 is 3. 3 times 4 is 12. And then, of course, I had to simplify, which is what I did above, and I get 1/4, all right? Over here, we have 1/2 of 4/5 equals 1/2 of, well, how many fifths do I have? I have 4 of them. And I want to know how many fifths I have. So I'm going to draw my model. And I'm going to do half. So I'm just looking right here. And I want to make it into fifths. And I'm going to find 4 of them. So I want to know these 4/5. Well, when I count it up, it's going to be 4/10. Which, guys, when you do this, it doesn't match up to that fifth, so I know that I can simplify and I can divide both of these by 2. I'm going to get 2/5. So how many fifths is it? It's 2/5. Okay, same thing if I were multiplying it out. 1/2 times 4/5. 1 times 4 is 4. 2 times 5 is 10. 4/10, but remember I simplified it to 2/5. Okay. So now on the bottom of these, I don't have to do any more of separating them out like this up here. I just need to draw my pictures and solve my problem. Okay, so first of all, I'm going to draw my model, okay, and it's 1/2, so I'm going to show half right now. So I'm looking right here, and it says of 2 halves. So I want to make this into 2 halves, okay, and I'm looking at that. So what do I have? Well, I have 2 out of 4, so 2/4, and I can simplify that, is actually going to equal 1/2. Okay, now remember this word of means to multiply, so this basically I'm multiplying everything straight across. So 1 times 2 is 2, 2 times 2 is 4, so I got 2/4, and remember I simplified it, it's going to equal 1/2. Because also remember, guys, what is 2 over 2? That actually means 1. So it's 1/2 of 1, and 1/2 of 1 is going to be a half. Okay, moving on. Okay, so I have 2/3, so I need to show 2/3. So 2/3, And with this one, guys, I'm really going to look at these 2/3 right here. And it says half of 2/3. So I'm looking right here. And what this says is I've got 2 out of 6. And I can simplify. And that's going to give me 1/3. Okay? So if I multiply this, because guys, remember that's multiplication when you see that word of, I'm going to do 2 times 1 is 2. 3 times 2 is 6, so I've got 2 6, and I can simplify it. It also equals 1/3. Okay. Letter E. I'm going to show half. Okay, so I'm only looking at this half, and I want to make it into 3/5, so I'm going to make fifths, and I'm going to color in 3. And so what I get is 3 out of 10, because I have 3/10. Now, if I multiply this, 1 times 3 is 3, 2 times 5 is 10. Okay. Another diagram here. I'm going to do 2/3. So I'm just going to look at these 2/3 right here, and I'm going to make fourths, and I'm going to do 1/4. Okay, so I'm only looking at 1/4 of what I did here, and this is my 2/3. So I have 2 out of 12 altogether. Now I can simplify that because I can do 2 divided by 2 and 12 divided by 2, and I'm going to get 1/6. So if I come up here, guys, remember, multiply just straight across. 2 times 1 is 2, 3 times 4 is 12. 2/12 also equals 1/6. Okay, the rectangular fraction is just so you guys can understand. Eventually, you guys are just going to get to straight multiplying across with your fractions.